fierce warrior queen crippled in battle, to be saved by human slaves she despised. Queen Kaelira of the Daren dominion had never lost a battle. Her name struck fear into her enemies. Her crimson war armor, shaped like a predator, gleamed in every campaign, and her long obsidian hair flowed behind her like a banner of wrath. She was fierce. She was feared. She was undefeated. Until now, the sky above the battlefield was scorched with smoke and fire. Her elite guard had fallen one by one. A hidden pulse mine had taken her hovercraft out of the air. She landed hard in the mud, her leg crushed under the twisted wreckage. Blood poured from the joints of her armor. She reached for a blade, but her fingers no longer obeyed her. Pain surged through her like lightning. She lay in the dirt, her war cries silenced. For the first time in her life, she was still and helpless. Footsteps approached, soft ones. Not an enemy, not a soldier, a human. He wore slave garments, plain gray, marked with Daren insignia. He had once been part of the Terran resistance before capture. The queen had seen him many times in passing, a quiet laborer who kept his head down and his words few. His name was Daren, and she had always despised him. "Leave me," she growled, blood bubbling in her throat. But he didn't. He knelt beside her. "I'm not leaving you to die," he said quietly. "You are nothing," she spat. "You're a slave." "And you're bleeding to death," he said, already pressing cloth to the wound on her side. She tried to shove him, but her arm faltered, trembling. Her body no longer listened to her will. "Why?" she demanded. "Why help me?" He hesitated. "Because you're still alive, and no one deserves to die alone in the mud." Daren dragged her into the ruins of a stone bunker, far from the field's flames. Her armor was too damaged to remove entirely, but he pried away enough to tend her injuries. He used rags torn from his own shirt to wrap her leg, and kept her warm with the single blanket he'd hidden in his pack. She cursed at him. She threatened him, but still he stayed. "You're a fool," she hissed. "Saving me won't free you. I'm not doing for freedom." "Then you're even dumber than I thought." He gave her a tight smile. "I've been called worse." Days passed. Kaelira's wounds festered, and fever took her. In her delirium, she spoke names from her past, lost sisters, fallen comrades, and the mother who had died in chains. Daren cooled her forehead with water. He risked his life to collect. When the fever broke, she woke to find him still there, thin and exhausted, but alive. "You stayed," she said. "I did. I don't understand." "You don't have to." That night, she stared at the stars through the broken roof, wondering for the first time what kind of man chooses kindness in the face of cruelty. The fourth night, she asked, "What was your name before?" "Daren," he said. "Not slave?" He gave her a wry smile. "No, I had a home, a family. I was a mechanic before the war." She was silent for a long time. "Why didn't you hate me?" she asked. "I did," he said honestly. "For a long time. You represented everything I lost. And now," he shrugged, "now I see someone broken and angry, just like the rest of us." She turned her head away, jaw clenched. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever dared to. And yet she did not strike him. Eventually, she began to heal. Her leg, though stiff and scarred, held weight again. Her pride, however, did not recover so easily. "I am crippled," she muttered one morning. "I will never lead again." "You're not dead," Daren said. "That means something. To you, maybe. To anyone who believes people can change." She looked at him, eyes narrowed. "You think I can change?" "I think you already have." She scoffed, but the word stayed with her. One day, scouts came, Daren loyalists, searching the wreckage. "We have to go," Daren said. "If they find me—" "You could leave now," she said slowly. "Abandon me. You've done enough." But he didn't leave. And when the scouts came near, she stood, leaning heavily on a crude staff, and said, "This human is mine. He saved my life. He walks beside me now, not behind." They stared at her, stunned, but she was still the queen, and no one dared argue. In the capital, they called her weak for returning wounded. They called her mad for protecting a human. She silenced them with a glance. At her orders, Daren was given quarters, not a cell, and allowed to walk freely within the palace. It caused unrest. Rumors bloomed. Some thought he had bewitched her. Others whispered she had gone soft. They didn't know the truth. She was healing, inside and out. In time, she asked Daren to join her in council. "You've seen the war from the bottom," she said. "Your insight might be what we need to rebuild." "You trust me?" he asked, surprised. She nodded. "You saved me. You changed me. That's worth trusting." They worked side by side, and slowly, the queen and the slave became partners. One evening, in the quiet of her chambers, she stood with a cane in one hand and a data pad in the other. "The reforms are underway. The slave system will end." Daren stared. "You're serious?" "I will not be the queen of chains any longer." He stepped closer. "Kaelira, why are you really doing this?" She looked up at him, fierce eyes softened now by pain, by growth, and perhaps by something more. "Because you showed me mercy when I gave you none. You could have left me to die, and instead, you saved me. Not just my life. Me." Daren reached for her hand. "I only saw someone worth saving." And for the first time in her reign, the warrior queen let herself be held, not as a ruler, not as a weapon, but as a woman. And she wept, not from weakness, but from being seen.